Hi everyone, welcome back to the Cantor Coach. I'm Emily Huber, and this week we are going to go through a rhythm exercise that will help you to learn your rhythms well for Sunday. Let's get started. So today we are going to go through a piece of music and walk through how I go about counting rhythm step by step. So today, because it's Trinity Sunday, we are going to look at one under my Trinity section in the hymnal called Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty. It should be a fairly familiar piece, but for our purposes, the other reason I picked it is if I look at the time signature, it says it's in common time, which is a great place for us to start. So step one is to always look at the time signature in the music. So this usually includes two numbers stacked on top of each other. So you might see 4 over a 4 or 3 over a 4, 2 over a 4, 6 over an 8. We'll get into all of these on another video. But today, this one has the letter C, and that is equal to common time. So in other words, it's 4/4 time. So that means there are 4 beats per measure, and the quarter note gets the beat. I'll say that again. There are 4 beats per measure, and the quarter note gets the beat. So if I were to tap 4 counts on my shoulder, that would equal 1 whole measure, and every time I tap, that is 1 quarter note. So something like this. Ha, 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 ha. Those are 4 quarter notes. Make sense? Great. So as we are looking at these notes in this piece, I noticed there are a few different kinds of notes. So we're going to go through those today just briefly, just so we have a basic understanding as we walk through the rhythm. Okay, so there are 4 different types of notes found in this piece, plus a little special trick that we have in here too with using a dot. So we'll talk about the dotted notes a little bit later, but the 4 types of notes to look for are whole notes, and a whole note is what it sounds like. It takes up the whole measure. So if you see a whole note in a measure that is in 4/4 time, that means it has 4 beats, and it sounds something like this. Ha. So I would hold it for that entire time, all 4 beats. Now, if we were to split up that whole note into half notes, each half note would get 2 beats per half note. So something like this. Ha, ha. And then if we were to split that half note even further into 4 quarter notes, as we discussed earlier, the quarter note is going to get the beat in this particular measure. So it would sound something like this. Ha, 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 ha. Then the 4th and final type of note in this particular piece is an 8th note. And you guessed it, it's when we split the quarter notes in 2. So each beat gets 2 8th notes. So something like this. Ha, 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 ha. Make sense? So we go from whole, split that into 2 half notes, split that into 4 quarter notes, and into 8 8th notes. All right, awesome. So now we will talk about the role of the dot. Okay, so when you see a dotted note in a piece of music, so a dot in front of a note, it lengthens the note that precedes it by half of its value. So for example, if you look at a quarter note, let's look at 2 quarter notes. You would see it and hear it as ha, ha. If you were to split that quarter note into 8th notes, as we mentioned earlier, it would sound like this. Ha, 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 ha. Now, if you had a dotted quarter note, it would be followed by an 8th note, and it would sound like this. Ha, ha. Okay? So the dotted quarter note equals 3 8th notes, and then you tack on that other 8th note at the end. So it's a dotted quarter note is the value of a quarter plus an 8th note. Make sense? So you will see that in this piece as well. So now that we've had our mini lesson on note values and how they apply to a piece in common time, let's look at our piece of music. So, holy, 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 Lord God Almighty. We've looked at the time signature. We've identified what kind of notes are going to be found in this piece. So now it's time to count the rhythm as we speak it. And so for this, you want to speak in somewhat of a sing-songy voice, because sometimes my voice tends to veer a little bit lower when I speak. And so I want to make sure that I'm speaking in the same way that I would sing this. So for example, rather than holy, 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 that's pretty low, and that's kind of riding a little bit low in my vocal cords. I want to speak a little bit higher in the range that I would be singing this in. So we'll tap a beat on our shoulder, or you can do your knee if you'd like, but we're going to do, again, those 4 beats per measure, and we're going to count through and speak through this rhythm. So let's get started. 1, 2, ready, go. Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, early in the morning our song shall rise to thee. Okay, so did you hear those eighth notes? Did you hear those quarter notes, or the dotted quarter notes? And did you hear the half notes in there? We just went through all of those different beats. I will put those up this next round so that you can walk through it with the music in front of you, and we'll sing it again. Here we go. Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, early in the morning our song shall rise to thee. Awesome. We're just doing the first 2 lines of the piece for today, just so this video isn't extra long. So what I would go through, I'd speak through the text. Again, first step is to look at the time signature. Next step, to identify what kind of notes you're going to find in this piece. The third step is to speak through the text in rhythm, keeping a pulse either on your shoulder or on your knee. And then the final thing is to sing through the text in rhythm with the right notes. Let's do that together. Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, early in the morning our song shall rise to thee. All right, so that is singing through the first 2 lines of Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty. And finally, the last step is to talk about tempo. So the last step in learning the rhythm in a piece is knowing how fast or how slow to sing it. And so we want to make sure that we are not singing too fast with this piece, but we also don't want it to be dragging either. So a great tool for you is to check out a metronome. Metronome is a way to keep that pulse. So if you don't want to keep pulse on your shoulder, because it's not always accurate, or your knee, you can get a very accurate metronome that you can set to the time that is indicated usually in the upper left-hand corner of a piece. This one does not have a particular marking on the music itself, although I did Google the number for a typical time tempo for Holy, 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 and I will put that on the screen here. When we have the time signature, or the time signature and the tempo all in line, we can sing this piece all together, whether you're with a group or by yourself with an accompanist, and everyone will be in sync and singing together. So these are my steps of how to sing through the rhythm in a piece to prepare for Sunday. Let me know if you have questions. Leave me a comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you all next week. God bless you.